Welcome to the cityCURRENT radio show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good, and also, too, talking about sports programs making a big difference with the Nashville Predators. Here to kick us off is Rebecca King, Vice President of Community Relations with the Preds Foundation. Rebecca, how are you doing?
We are great. We are in full hockey swing, playing for our playoff spot, so life is great in Nashville.
Absolutely. And so let's start with a little bit of history and context for the Preds Foundation, obviously tied to the Nashville Predators, but give us a little bit of background for the foundation.
So the Preds Foundation is housed underneath the Nashville Predators organization, and we benefit youth and families. And one of the things that I love about our foundation is that we don't raise money for ourselves. We don't have operational costs and expenses. So we are raising money to then distribute it to the Middle Tennessee community to make Nashville, Middle Tennessee, just a better place to work and live for everybody. So our goal is just to help as many organizations as we can. We're very broad-based, and that's intentional because we do want to help everybody. We work with our players closely and figure out what their passions are. Our staff are on boards and volunteer. I mean, it's kind of the DNA and part of the fiber of who we are as an organization is to give back to the community and be as integrated as we can.
Talk about what a typical year looks like in terms of, obviously you have the season, but this is a full 365 adventure on your end. So talk about how it works in terms of events and gifts and all the different efforts. Where does that kind of map out throughout the calendar year?
Yep. So we rely heavily on in-season to raise our funds. So it starts with a golf tournament as the players return in September. We are not given a bucket of money at the start of the year to distribute, so we have to self-raise it, and we do it like every other nonprofit. We do auctions, golf tournaments, clay shoots, bowling events, wine tastings, fashion shows, beer festivals, you name it. We put these events on, and then through that, that's how we distribute funds. We're very active in season with game night activation, drives, and awareness nights, and April was Autism Inclusion Month, and we've had Black History Month, or we have food drives at Thanksgiving. So a lot of it depends on the cycle of the year and where we are. And then the summer, we have in the past put on a beer festival. It's indoors. There's no porta potties. There's air conditioning. It's not weather-based. So we've had a really good turnout for that event as another fundraiser. And then the summertime is an opportunity where we can go out and visit all the nonprofits that we supported throughout the year. So gives us the chance to get out and learn a little more. So when the season comes back around, we're ready to plan a holiday party with this organization and distribute turkeys with that organization and really enhance and do even more than we did the year prior. Our foundation distributes about $2.5 million a year. With the pandemic, we haven't been able to raise that, but we have had a healthy reserve. And if you're going to use your rainy day fund, I think a pandemic is the best time to ever use it. So our giving this year, despite not raising the money, is not going to be impacted. We're still going to give away as much as we did previous years, if not more.
Talk about some of the stats, because you mentioned obviously the big amount giving, but just looking at the 2021 grants, $735,000 to 184 organizations. So to your point, very broad reach when you talk about 184 organizations. Go ahead and paint the picture a little bit of just what that looks like in terms of the different organizations and those dollars.
Yep. So we have a one annual grant cycle, and it's for programmatic expenses. We probably had 350, 400 organizations apply, and our board reviewed, and we select 184 groups. Last year, we gave out $700,000. We allowed organizations to transition that to operational costs because we knew that they needed the money more than they needed that slide or whatever they may have requested. So this year, we were able to give out $35,000 more than last year. And it's organizations that we have never have worked before with, and really trying to broaden our reach. We're doing a lot in Clarksville, so we have some great new groups in Clarksville that we're working with. And again, it's last week we had a very exciting week. So we shut down the Preds NHL media through social media and didn't focus on hockey. And our staff went out and distributed 80 of those checks one by one by one. So normally we have everyone come to Bridgestone Arena and accept their check. we don't really want large group gatherings. So we went out and we got to visit everyone and bring them their check in their place. And it just warmed our hearts to be able to see everyone. And I think they were appreciative that we made the effort to drive to their location and bring them their check personally. And you kind of switch things up in a pandemic, and sometimes it's for the better, and you get to learn a new way of doing things and just kind of see your people that you've missed.
What, carrying that theme of just, kind of innovation and coming up with new ideas, what are some things that you learned? Because like you said, the pandemic was hard, but you were able to use the rainy day fund to be able to still give, and in fact, give more now. What have you learned during the pandemic that you think is going to make you stronger coming out of this?
I think sometimes it's just the simple things that we may not realize are impactful. We started a Feeding the Front Lines program during the pandemic where we fed policemen, firemen, hospital employees. And just a few months ago, we said, what about teachers? They really need to be thanked. It's been a crazy year for them. And so we partnered with Hunt Brothers Pizza and have been going to schools each month, and just teachers come out, get free lunch, and we just thank them. There's no agenda behind it besides our appreciation for them. And the teachers are so grateful for such a simple act that it's something that we're going to continue next year. When we've had tickets for charities, groups are so excited to come back. They've missed it. They've missed hockey. They missed the normalcy. And so we've built some new relationships with people that have never been to games, and then also bringing back our old friends that just want that normal return of life. And hockey has kind of brought that to them.
How have you seen the Preds Foundation generate stronger relationships in the community in terms of the support for the team? So talk about it from that aspect, because I think everyone obviously wants to support the hometown team, but when you start adding a layer of giving back and, philanthropically supporting organizations and tying in this nice community thread, I think it endears them on a whole new level in terms of the commitment to the team and the impact you're able to make. So what have you seen on that front, especially during, the pandemic?
Yeah, I think the relationships we have with organizations is some of the best you'd ever meet, just because they know for any random request, they have accessibility. They have the pipeline into our organization for us to do something, whether it's someone whose child has not been feeling well. We've had players record messages or get on a Zoom call with them. We've had organizations that will tweet about their events they have coming up, or who knows what it is, but the fact that we pay attention to what they're doing and then we put it on our platform to promote it to our fans. And so something that we did 10 years ago has now endeared that organization or a family within that organization to come to just be a big fan of ours. And so we take great pride in that grassroots mentality that we've had. And no matter the success of the team or making it to the Stanley Cup Finals, that's something we will always do. We will always be a very grassroots, salt of the earth organization helping others.
Yeah, I love it. Let's talk about the super grants. You have Maple Built, Retrieving Independence, Monroe Harding, Home Street Home. Give us some detail on the super grants.
So Super Grants is an amazing relationship we have with SmileDirectClub. They're actually the title partner of the Preds Foundation, which is an unusual thing. It's the Nashville Predators Foundation and powered by SmileDirectClub. And part of that relationship is granting large sums of money to organizations to help them with some sort of program or operational expense that they may need. And so we look for organizations that are empowering people through life's transitions, whether they're coming from being in prison and transitioning into civilian life. If they were formerly in the military and they too were transitioning out of the military, if they were formerly homeless, and hence the Home Street Home that we're going to announce on Saturday. And so we have organizations that apply and we select them, and the grants are anywhere between $25,000 and $100,000. And that money, when we spoke with Maple Built and announced it to them, they said the fact that we have two companies like SmileDirectClub and the Nashville Predators that believe in what we're doing and are going to give us this amount of money to help us achieve our mission. There were some tears by these two brothers on the phone call that we can actually move the needle on what they're trying to achieve. So our Preds Foundation grants are $500,000 to $10,000. These are big impact, and they can do a lot with the funds that we're granting with them, and allows us to work with different organizations that the Preds Foundation with youth and families may not necessarily fit into.
Give us more detail on the Foundation Fiesta presented by Kroger.
So we had to be creative like everyone else with our foundation events. And so on Wednesday, we are hosting a Top Golf event and selling bays, and the money will benefit the Preds Foundation. But we were able to do a clay shoot because it's outside. We were able to do a golf tournament because it's outside. Top Golf has been a great partner of the Nashville Predators organization. And so we're going to bring our people out that miss fundraising events. They miss gathering. They miss just giving back. And so on Wednesday, we're hosting a Cinco de Mayo type event at Top Golf. And again, the proceeds will benefit the Preds Foundation and help refund and refill the reserves that we've used during this pandemic year.
And then talk about the Youth Hockey Diversity Program presented by Bridgestone.
So we received an exciting announcement from Bridgestone. They gave us a $100,000 grant back in February to create a diversity and inclusion program. And with all the social unrest that's been going on, we actually had already created a program that we were looking for a partner to join us on. And it'll launch in June. And we're working with nonprofit organizations to bring diversity to the sport of hockey. It'll be, I think, a 9-week program where these kids will get free on-ice instruction, free equipment to keep, dinner. And we want to introduce children from diverse backgrounds to the sport of hockey. A goal that we have as an organization is to bring more diversity into our front office, bring more diversity into our fan base, and then also bring more diversity into kids who are playing on the ice. And so through this program and the partnership with Bridgestone, we are very excited. We named it CORE, and we're going to launch it this month, and it'll begin in June. And we'll have, I think there's 37 kids at Fordyce Bellevue and 37 kids at Fordyce Antioch. So it's going to hit both parts of town and really going to grow the game of hockey in Middle Tennessee.
What's something that you wish everyone knew about the Preds Foundation?
I think the hardest part for us is the messaging of who we benefit, because when you hear of amazing groups like Make-A-Wish Foundation and Ronald McDonald House, it's synonymous with what they do. For the Preds Foundation, because we are so broad-based, it's not really obvious. So if you do a survey, people say, well, they help the military. Well, we do help the military, but then you raise money for cancer. Well, we do that too. And by spreading ourselves so thin, you do have the detriment that people don't really know what you do and who you're helping. But on the flip side of it is we're helping everybody, and we're doing a little bit of something for everyone. And so we want people to know that that is intentional, that we are broad-based and that we do want to do as much as we can, whether it's a donation to an auction for someone that they have a fundraiser, to a grant, to a player doing a Zoom call, and then one day going back room to room visiting kids at the hospital. So we really are ingrained and intertwined in the community in hundreds and hundreds of different ways.
What's something you wish that everyone knew about the players? Because you have a rare vantage point to see the heart of the players. We get to see them on the ice, but you get to see them behind the scenes giving back, and also too, you get to see their passion and their purpose. So what's something that you wish everyone knew about the players?
We are intentional when we line up community programs with our players. We do get a lot of calls from organizations saying, I represent this and I want a player. And unless we have a player that's passionate about that cause, it's disingenuous and it's not going to really work. So when Victor Arvidsson came to us and said, hey, I love animals. I've been fostering. I want to do an animal rescue program. And so he took over what Yannick and Kayla Weber had created. And we do, instead of a kids club, we have a dog club. And he does Zoom calls with these dog club members, and the money raised goes back to animal rescue. But the fact that he lends us his name, his social media, he posts all the time, and it promotes a cause that he's passionate about. Pekka and Shay both started the 365 Cancer Fund, presented by Twice Daily at Children's Hospital. It's been going on since 10, 12 years now, and we've raised millions of dollars. And it's a cause that they're very passionate about. So anytime we need Pekka to go to Children's Hospital or call a child who's not feeling well, no problem. We have guys a couple years ago in the playoffs, they landed from a home game, got in a car and drove to this child who was terminally ill. and made this memorable moment for his family and for him. I just think they are the most humble, easygoing athletes, the most accessible, and they're willing to give back. They show up early for appearances. They put their phones away because they're engaged in who they're talking to. And many times we've seen them build relationships and friendships. We have one family that Matthias Ekholm met at Children's Hospital. The young man had just had an appendicitis. Then a few years later, the child did a free tri-hockey program, and Matthias was signing autographs. And now at Christmas, he invites the family to come to a game. They come down after the locker room and exchange little Christmas presents. And this kid is now in his teens in high school and thriving and doing well. But it was just these random chance meetings that has built these relationships that these players have with fans that, again, ties back to they've become endeared by the fans because of these simple acts that the players do. So I'd say that's one of 200 stories we could tell you about our guys, but they are just humble, hardworking, great athletes that happen to be really good at hockey. So I feel very fortunate to be working with them.
Wrap up with how we can help and where do we go to help. So social media, website, phone number, where do we go? So a couple of ways to help, and then obviously, where do we go?
Yes. I think the most obvious way to help is follow us on social media. We have it from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also LinkedIn at Preds Foundation. Very simple, same handle for all. So the fact that people follow us on there, keep an eye on what programs we have, what events we have. And then when the Mike Fisher clay shoot comes around and you're really into guns, that's an awesome event. We would love to see you out there. If you like fishing, we have a fishing tournament. If you like golf, wine, beer, we do all of these events that may not speak to everybody, but if you are interested in these different things, it really makes sense for you to get involved. But I think just following us and being educated about what the team does and how involved we are, it just has another voice in the community for us to kind of spread the word. So when someone does hear about a child that needs help, they have that contact to come back to us and let us know. So just follow us and keep in touch with us and let us know where we can get engaged in the community.
Well, Rebecca, greatly appreciate everything you do for the community. So thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you so very much.